Well, January was certainly a rough month for SML, but let's see if things picked up at all in February. Especially now that Logan's apparently going to start caring again now that January is over. Also, it seems more people are doing these SML month reviewed videos, such as Math Dominus and Ray Rants, which is nice to see. Be sure to check those ones out as well, after this video, of course. Jeffy the Lawyer. I thought this video would be really stupid and not very funny, especially given how January went, but I was incorrect, as this video was actually pretty funny. Sure, basically the whole joke was Jeffy says something silly to get his client out of a certain predicament, and nearly the entire video was one extended Judge Poobie segment, but you know what? I think for this video, it was actually funny and it actually worked. Most of the jokes were decently funny. I loved the scene with Chris trying the food, and the pacing was decent enough that there wasn't really any point of the video where I felt bored. I think maybe the beginning portion went on a bit long, but otherwise it was pretty good. Also, I like how there was an actual proper ending to this video, where Jeffy decides to quit being a lawyer, instead of like in some of the January videos, where the plot just sort of stops with no resolution to it because no one could figure out a good ending. 7 out of 10 video. It isn't the best video ever, but for what it was worth, I actually liked it. Good job, Logan. The free pizza. Free food! Okay, now that we got that out of the way, the free pizza relies on a very simple trope, that being the 30 minutes or it's free plotline. Now, to be fair, I certainly think this has been done better in other media, but honestly, this one wasn't too terrible. It was silly enough and moderately entertaining, and is one of those times where I think the random for the sake of random jokes can actually work in the video's favor. However, things aren't all perfect with this video. Far from it. My biggest gripe is that the actual pizza delivery portion doesn't show up until more than halfway into the video. I know this was because it was only supposed to be 5 minutes or it's free, and Logan managed to get this pretty close to an actual real-time 5 minutes when compared to the video runtime. However, the first few minutes of the video weren't nearly as interesting as the second half. You could tell they tried, to be fair, so I think I can give some points back for that, but ultimately, I'm going to have to give this video a 5.5 out of 10. It would have been way better if this video was basically the second portion of the video, but just more of that. I don't think every joke they did during that second part was perfect, but it was entertaining enough, honestly. The first part of this video just dragged things down though. Like, yeah, okay, we get it. It isn't supposed to make sense that they're pirates, but come on, we didn't need that joke for minutes on end. Also, as a last thing, normally I don't really talk about the thumbnails for the videos, but the speech bubbles in modern SML thumbnails have always sort of bothered me, and this thumbnail in particular was annoying. Do we really need this dialogue in the thumbnail? Was a little bit of empty space really so annoying to Logan that he just had to put that in there? Mind you, I'm not great at thumbnail design either sometimes, but come on, this is such an easy fix since there was a perfectly good thumbnail until Logan decided, oh, this needs a dialogue bubble for some reason. Look, I'm not docking points for this or anything, but I don't know, it's annoying to me. Junior's Big Playtime 2. Well, the Playtime series is still continuing. This video was not very good, honestly. It was just a bunch of arguing over and over, seemingly non-stop, which got annoying after, 30 seconds? I don't know whether I should dock points or not for this scene where Lavelle literally just stops moving Joseph's mouth at all. That's an error at the end of the day, but it was also unintentionally really funny, so I guess it just sort of evens out. Speaking of Joseph, notice how Joseph and Cody act here. Like, this is playtime, right? Well, Cody actually acted differently than how he normally does now, which almost made me forget he was a bad character. Joseph, though, especially towards the end of the video, it feels like he just reverted back to how he is normally, which is black stereotype number 47. He literally just gave up on the pretend part, and I think this was another error? Or maybe this was a direction issue? Whatever the case, it was really jarring given how there seemed to be an attempt throughout the rest of the video, until of course they just sort of gave up. I think my favorite portions of this video were the scenes with Benjamin, though even then those sort of fell flat after a while. Again though, the rest of this video was mainly just yelling and arguing, and it just wasn't very fun to watch. 2.5 out of 10. At times you could tell they tried, while at other times you could tell they just sort of didn't, and in general this video was just rather annoying, and I certainly didn't care for rewatching it all that much either. Jeffy's piano lessons. Oh great, another video with the Huckerdoos. Hooray! But wait, it's okay, most of them aren't in this video for very long. Except Suzanne, which, well, I mean, at least it isn't Timmy. See, I think this video tried to do a decent job at being funny, but until Miss Nesbit got into the video, it simply just wasn't all that funny. And even then, the look at how many parts of the body she can play with was more bizarre than funny. I did like the scene where Jeffy plays perfectly by slamming his head into the piano. Also, Craig being Miss Nesbit was very easy to see coming, but to be fair, I saw the video where they'd done that before. I also didn't care for the scene of just Craig, Mario, and Suzanne arguing since it just went on too long, and the ending felt a bit silly and contrived. To be fair to this video, I don't hate it, and it certainly had its moments, but overall it's getting a 3.5 out of 10. Again, not terrible, but I don't think most of the jokes really landed for me, and those that did were only a bit funny. Bad Super Bowl commercials. Well, the first word in the title is certainly accurate, and okay, look, it wasn't awful. I mean, the first portion at least. In fact, I think that the first nearly 5 minutes of this video were actually pretty good. Except then I feel like things rapidly began to fall apart. It's like they came up with 4 pretty funny commercials, realized they couldn't think of any others that were funny, they kinda threw whatever out there to see if that would work. Oh, and also they shoved a plot in there at the last minute, and recycled the plot point where Mario and Brooklyn Guy tried to rig a football game like that one video from January. Except here, it was at least shorter, so yeah, just a little over a third of this video was actually pretty funny. And it's a shame too, since there was another SML video that did Super Bowl commercials way better, like it was actually really funny, and I think that also invariably led to me comparing this video to the other one. 2 very similar concepts, but one done way better. Oh yeah, and let's not forget this joke, which was totally hilarious and not at all annoying. I literally muted this part of the video, it was so bad. And it was hilarious when they did it the first time in the GTA 6 video. You know, except for the part where it wasn't. If I had to sum up my reaction to that bit, it would basically be this. Bing, bing. So this video is going to get a 2.5 out of 10. An actually pretty decent start with some commercials that I genuinely laughed at, which then became a very not decent other 2/3 of the video. Oh, but wait, this was one of the rare videos where Logan says something about people not liking it. Basically saying, okay, but we make 3 videos per week. While true, that didn't make the video any less bad. Especially since because most of these were basically one-off skits, they could have easily been filmed well in advance of the Super Bowl. Just come up with ideas throughout the weeks or even months leading up to it, and then put those together. And again, to be fair, I know this isn't helped by my comparing the video to a much better Super Bowl commercials video that Logan made, but seriously, Logan could do this well years ago, so why can't something similar be done now? Oh well, I guess that's just modern SML for you. Junior's Valentine's Day gift. Well, this video was okay enough. This video was Junior wanting to get Penelope a gift because of course Junior x Penelope needs to continue being a thing, and so with Brooklyn Guy's advice, he gets her a Minnie Mouse, and everything goes awry. I will say the Nintendo animation was sort of funny, though I now want to know who requested the jiggle physics. Also, the part with Mickey telling Goofy to go to Brooklyn Guy's house was actually funny. And the ending where Brooklyn Guy just gets really sad listening to the phone, as well as Junior just saying he ruined everything, was admittedly rather funny. The rest of the video though, I didn't hate it, but it felt like the rest just sort of existed. Like there were some really funny moments, mixed in with just a bunch of talking. It's probably a 4.8 out of 10 though. Fairly middle of the road, since while it did make me laugh a fair bit, the parts that didn't just kinda went on. Well, this video was part filler and part annoying. Oh yeah, and also part sponsor segment, and since they're basically never implemented well, I'm docking points for that. Anyway, this video was rather stupid, honestly. It was just a bunch of filler and talking, trying to figure out what happened to Brooklyn Guy's wife, until he decides to call his ex-wife, who actually had nothing to do with any of it, so that was completely pointless. And then the people who abducted Brooklyn Guy's wife just decide to sort of give her back. And then the video just sort of ends, and it reminds me of a January video. And that's not a compliment, in case you couldn't tell. So yeah, this one was bad. This video is a 2 out of 10. Nothing really happened, the sponsor segment loses points, and oh, let's not forget that Brooklyn Guy's ex-wife, who was actually referenced in the animation from the previous video, was really annoying. I don't really have much else to add to this one though. This was just a boring and annoying video. Jeffy Ball Z Episode 5. Well, I can't really give this video a score since I've never watched Dragon Ball Z to begin with. I've heard some people say that I should watch even just a bit of Dragon Ball Z, while others say I don't even need to bother since all the references are very surface level, but I don't know, I feel like I'd be lost watching it without seeing at least a few episodes of the original, which I'm sure I'll get to eventually. Plus there are 4 other episodes that I need to watch before this one anyway, so this one doesn't get a score. Huh, why does that seem so familiar? Goodman's Apple Vision Pro. Okay, so is it bad that I actually found this video kinda funny? One of the first things that I heard about this video was that it was pretty bad, but to me it was somewhat funny. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the funniest video ever, not even close, but the video was actually entertaining enough, with the weakest part in my opinion being the return of Camille, although even then he was funny for a short while. I think some jokes got rather repetitive, or they went on too long, and the plot might as well have been pointless, since it was more of a vehicle to show off that they have the device. However, honestly, this is a 4 out of 10. I genuinely didn't hate this video, and I honestly found a fair bit of it funny. Of course, it loses points for not being the funniest video ever, some jokes going on too long or being repetitive, and the plot, again, just not existing. But seriously, I didn't think this video was too bad. Oh boy, the talent show. So before we discuss the elephant in the room, let's talk about most of the other acts in the show. They were fine, I guess. A lot of them felt like Logan had no idea what to really do, so he just sort of threw something out there. I guess I'll go in order of each act. Penelope was actually pretty funny. Brooklyn Guy and Simmons were funny, even if the joke was really obvious. Junior's was dumb and went on way too long. Cody and Timmy's was... oh, we'll get to that. Joseph's was just, look, he's good at basketball, and also a Kobe reference, and that was literally it. Screwball's was just the snake balloon bit, which was funny enough, I guess. Patrick's was, oh look, he's not a very good ventriloquist, which honestly I didn't find all that funny. Hansel's joke could be seen coming from a mile away, but unlike Brooklyn Guy's, it wasn't very funny. And finally Jeffy's, which I thought was funny enough. I congratulated Lance for this in the original reaction I made, but most of that was Anthony, so good job to Anthony there. Of course, as it turned out, even the judges agreed that no one should get the award, which makes me wonder what the point of this video was. But before I move on to the score, let's loop back around to Cody and Timmy. Because oh my goodness was that awful. Yes, alright, we get it, Cody and Timmy are gay. Better make an entire minute-long scene about it in the most off-putting way possible. I genuinely hated this segment of the video, not only because the joke has gotten old ages ago, but it's more of that at best unsettling, or at worst flat-out gross humor about it. I mean, it wasn't stretched out across an entire video this time, so maybe we should be thankful for that, but this succeeded in crashing an otherwise okay enough video. Oh, and we better remember to play part of it again at the end of the video, because it was so funny the first time, right? If Logan absolutely had to keep Cody and Timmy in, complete with a gay joke, have them juggling. They actually started out doing that before moving into whatever on earth this was. Maybe have one of them remark how good they are at playing with balls, and that's it. Haha, very funny. Sure, it wouldn't have been amazing, but compared to what we got, it would have been way better. I'm just really tired of seeing Cody and Timmy being really gross and really terrible gay stereotypes. But right, the score. 2.8 out of 10. Some portions of this video weren't too bad, dare I say even funny. Some of them were boring, and one was just flat out awful. Again, a lot of this felt just sort of like whatever was being thrown at the wall, and while some of it worked, a lot of it didn't. I'd of course be more lenient on this video if Cody and Timmy's segment had been toned down, or better yet, removed entirely. But hey, thank goodness there aren't any other videos with Cody having a prominent role in them this month, right? Jeffy the Dealer. Okay, so first of all, the joke could easily be seen coming from a mile away. No, sorry, that isn't fair. Miles away, plural. So yeah, Jeffy fills a magic 8-ball with Coca-Cola. The person at the pawn shop thinks that Jeffy referring to it as Coke is something else. You get it. I felt like the setup was a bit convoluted, but at the same time funny enough in just how absurd it was. The portion with Brooklyn Guy and Simmons was funny, and for some reason I found a section with Simmons unable to unlock the door rather funny. I can't even explain why, I just thought it was funny. Then of course we get to the final portion of the video, which wasn't nearly as funny, where Brooklyn Guy is trying to find out what cheese sticks could be code for, which leads him to the conclusion that it's... well, if you watch the video, you know what he said. And yeah, this portion was just stupid and gross. I originally gave this video a decent score, but upon rewatching it, I'm knocking it down a bit. This video is just okay. 4.5 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, that isn't a bad score, and this video did have clever moments, but the joke could be seen coming from miles away, and that was about all of it. I did find some of the jokes funny, while others weren't as much. The second portion of the video sort of caused the video to decline a bit, not extremely so mind you, but enough that I believe it's worth mentioning. And finally, I'd just like to say that I felt like this video had missed potential. With a title like that, you could have easily had Jeffy working with the lone dolphin or something like that, and dealing things, only for Jeffy to find out what he was doing, originally thinking he was giving out like Coca-Cola or something. The same joke is there, but it could have had a lot more creativity put into it. This video wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awful either. The Acorn. Okay, so the Acorn was actually pretty funny, and another video based on a recent real-life event, which we'll get to later. This video was apparently supposed to be similar to more classic videos, to which I say, I guess I can see it. This video involves Brooklyn Guy and Simmons being filmed for the show Cops. They notably don't arrest this person we see in the background, but do arrest Charlie for jogging and having plants in his pocket. Brooklyn Guy hears an acorn that a squirrel dropped, mistakes it for gunshots, and then proceeds to shoot into the car. A lot. Well, luckily this is just a silly SML video and not an actual thing. No way would a police officer be stupid enough to mistake an acorn for a gunshot, right? Wouldn't that be such a silly and unrealistic thing to happen? Anyway, Brooklyn Guy gets rightfully fired for this, at which point he spends the rest of the video trying to get his job back, and he eventually does at the end of the video. But okay, let's talk about the obvious thing here. This was an actual thing that happened in real life, complete with the police officer claiming that he had been hit by something. He was the only one shooting, and shooting into a car with an unarmed suspect. Now, in the SML video, I found this really funny because it's so ridiculous and feels like something that should be fictional, or at least a heavily exaggerated parody. That said, however, I think my opinion on this video has declined a bit since I watched it initially, for a couple reasons. First of all, does this feel like classic SML? I mean, it sort of does for a little bit, mainly while Brooklyn Guy and Simmons are out on patrol. However, I've never been a big fan of Void Police Station, because seriously, if you're going to use the police so much in modern SML, why does it always take place in the void? Oh, and then later on in the video, they go right back to the red couch. So I mean, you could tell me that there are hints of that classic era spirit in there, you know, barely. Next, let's talk about the real life event this was inspired on. This goes for Jeffy Attacks the Judge as well, but I'm posting this video a few days after this video was released, which isn't too long after the real life event happened. However, will the joke make sense outside of that context? And more importantly, will it still be funny? Will it be funny in the future? If I or somebody else were to watch this without the added context of what had happened, would that detract from it? Well, yes, to a certain degree, as I feel like part of the joke is making fun of the actual officer who did this, and just how absurd the whole situation was. However, I still think that joke will hold up somewhat well, even in the future, when some people might not have that context at all. I know I sure found it funny initially with little context. Now then, let's finally get to a score. This video is a 6 out of 10. As while I don't think I can realistically rate it as high as I did during my reaction, I still found the portion with Brooklyn Guy and Simmons rather funny, and it was certainly a change for once. While the rest of the video wasn't fantastic, it didn't really detract from it either. Cody goes to preschool. Well, I was hoping that February would end on a high note, and it most certainly didn't. Now, since this is a leap year, we all knew there would be a joke about Cody being 4, even though that's not how leap years work, but whatever. So this is one of those videos where the main character has to go to an earlier grade for some reason or another. Okay, that's fine, since I've seen that done well before. Even off of the top of my head, I could think of a Gumball episode and a My Life as a Teenage Robot episode that did this well enough. So, how did Logan's version do it? Yeah, it's awful. First of all, we had the mandatory Cody's only 4 joke. Also, despite this being called Cody Goes to Preschool, he goes to kindergarten for some reason. And then we get to see these horrific puppets. Now maybe I owe an apology for saying just how bad the other puppets look, such as Junior, Joseph, and Cody, since these look even worse. But you know what? Fine. Despite all of that, was the rest of the video at least decent? No. In fact, I laughed a grand total of once at this video, and even then, it was a very mild laugh. I really just wanted this video over with, as I could tell that the video had exhausted anything resembling humor. The whole joke is that Cody's 4, a bunch of kindergarten shenanigans, but with no payoff, unless you count Junior and Joseph being jealous at the end, in which case... maybe I could see that being funny? Maybe it didn't help that I found that joke extremely predictable, and I was so tired of the rest of the video that I didn't even laugh at that joke. The actually funny part? Yeah, remember that Gumball episode I mentioned? Yeah, that was way funnier. Do I expect SML to become Gumball levels of funny overnight? Or basically ever for that matter? No, not even close. Even if Logan had basically taken notes from or even just copied that episode, it would have been way better. Or what about that My Life as a Teenage Robot episode? Sure, it wasn't as good in my opinion, but it did involve Jenny literally beating everyone up. Now, some might call this a high bar for Logan, but first of all, I'm not expecting him to be as good as either of these examples. I'm saying that there are 2 perfectly good examples I could think of right off the top of my head, and I somehow doubt that literally no one thought of these or other similar episodes while making this video. I mean, seriously, it's a super common trope. But let's say for the sake of argument that they somehow didn't think of any similar examples. I want the video to be, you know, not terrible. This video was just non-stop annoying, and even when they tried to make jokes about it, things still didn't work. Like sure, just because the teacher, for example, was annoyed along with us, that doesn't mean that the annoying parts were funny. There were so many ways this could have been done better, but instead they just picked the worst ideas ever and mashed them into a video for the sole purpose of the leap year joke. Oh, and since I've heard, well, at least it wasn't a Cody torture video, I can agree with that much. It wasn't a Cody torture video. I mean, there were certainly parts of it that were, but not too bad. Unfortunately, it was an audience torture video, which is even worse. Now, I was going to give this video a 1 out of 10, but thinking about it now, it isn't that terrible. In fact, I'll be generous and give it a 2.5 out of 10. Is it still bad? Yes. Is it still annoying? Yes. Could it have been done much better? Absolutely. But is this the worst leap year video? No, and I think putting it on par with other clearly worse videos in general simply isn't reasonable. I also can't deny that this video was at least somewhat creative. Something I don't understand though is people giving this video 7 out of 10 ratings because for this video, yeah, I really don't see it. Maybe they're comparing it to other leap year videos, which, okay, that's somewhat fair. But as a video itself, Yeah, I'm personally sticking to the rating I'm giving it. And now it's time for this month's average score, which totals out to a 4 out of 10. So I guess the good news is that we're above January's average of 3 out of 10. And we're back to just above December's average, which was a 3.8 out of 10. So a slight improvement. However, that's still kinda low. I will say that some videos, particularly that last one, really caused the average to take a hit. February was really a mixed month for me.
Some might call it a mixed bag.
You had some videos that were in the middle, but then you'd also get some pretty good ones, unfortunately followed up almost immediately after with really bad ones. The recurring pattern, however, is that a lot of modern SML's videos are just okay. And any videos that are good get dragged down by the bad ones. I don't know if I'd call this month an improvement, more as it's a return to form after January being super lazy. I'd like to hope things begin improving going forward throughout the year, but I don't know if that will really happen. As a last couple of things, I'd recommend that Logan stop making videos pointless or annoying, stop stretching out jokes longer than they need to be, and please stop with the Cody and Timmy joke, or better yet, stop that relationship arc in general, because it's just annoying at this point. Those are a couple of the things I've noticed will drag down video scores the most for me. It's still a shame that February ended up the way it was, considering I actually thought it started out pretty decent. But that's all for now. Hopefully, March will be better. Thank y'all for watching, and take care.
Attention, you have been charged with failure.